Servus, Freunde.
Hey, Deniz. Here are your bills, pre-collection letters, accounts receivable, and some other tasks for the upcoming days. And there's an unannounced inspection coming up.
What? That's just too much.
Sorry, I'll support you as best as I can.
Servus, Freunde. My name is ziemliche. Excuse me. Yes?
Inspection.
Inspection.
Yes. I'm here for the quality inspection of your premises, including your business and recording studio. This is it?
Yes.
Not enough light. Camera, subpar. Microphone, lousy. Background, mediocre at best. And you, sir, maybe you should forward your business to the Buddymeister. I can't sign off on this.
Buddymeister? How do you know? Wait a minute. Corruptmeister. Servus, Freunde. My name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Deniz, the Buddymeister.
We have reviewed more than 400 Indian movies on the channel, and once a month we let all of our awesome patrons and YouTube members decide what we should watch next. The last poll was all about the beloved duo Mohanlal and Sreenivasan.
The options were Mithunam, which won, Udayananu Taram, and Varavelpu.
The next poll is already up as well, and supporters can now choose between 3 Mahesh Babu movies. 1 Nenu Kadine, Atadu, and Businessman.
Mithunam is a 1993 Malayalam language comedy drama that was written by Sreenivasan and directed by Priyadarshan. This is a very beloved movie, a super success with a huge fan base. A fan base that, if it somehow overlaps with ours, will be lost to us after this video.
Let's hope not. We have seen a handful of Priyadarshan movies, and so far we have liked all of them quite a bit. But I have to say that I had the most problems with this one. I know that it's a very beloved classic of Malayalam cinema and it also won the poll, but I had a hard time really connecting with it, and once we get to the end, I didn't want to connect to it anymore because I thought it was rather unpleasant. But maybe we should start with the positives, because obviously there's also a lot to like, or let's say a lot that certainly appealed to an audience back then.
When we review old Malayalam movies like this, we of course know that they weren't made for us. I think it's pretty awesome that we are even able to watch them, but I also think that people want to hear our honest opinions. If I or you or we don't like a particular movie that much, it doesn't mean that we want you to stop liking it, but we're coming from an outsider perspective and also from a 2022 perspective. I think it's always important to keep the release date of a movie in mind. Still, we will tell you if things bother us.
I don't think it's a movie that aged well, and please keep in mind that we don't have any nostalgia for it.
I thought we wanted to talk about the positives first.
Yeah, sorry. So, once again, we get a pretty all-star cast with this movie. By now, we are quite familiar with most of these actors. Doesn't mean that we have seen many movies with each one of them, but out of the important characters, there wasn't a single one that I haven't seen before, which was cool.
Mohanlal, Sreenivasan, Innocent, Urvashi, Jakati Srikumar, Shankaradi, Nedumudi Venu. There are probably a few more that we know by now.
Unlike the previous Priyadarshan movie that we have watched, Mala Peyunu Madalam Kutunu, which is already up for patrons, but will be released after this one, unlike that movie, Mithunam isn't a full-fledged goofy comedy. It's a comedy drama. It has very serious subject matters that are tackled in a mostly light-hearted way, with some heavier tones later on.
The story revolves around Setu Madhavan, who has plans to start a biscuit factory, but there are so many things that stop him from doing that. The corruption and bureaucracy of the officials, his dysfunctional family, and apparently his wife Sulu, who just demands too much from him.
All of this is embedded in a beautiful scenery.
The movie's full of atmosphere that's kind of already evoked with the opening credits and its wonderful music.
Yes, and it is also full of nice scenes that stick out because of the fine editing. For example, when Setu arrives at his home with his wife Sulu for the first time.
That's really a great scene, probably the best one in the movie. It's also nice and fun how Preman, Setu's friend, loosens the situation by talking to Setu's father about forgiveness before he walks in with Sulu.
There are 2 or 3 songs in the movie that are also quite nice, and that's actually what I could also say about the whole first half of the movie. I could identify with the overall narrative. How Setu is trying his best to establish his business and how he's trying to please everyone in this big joint family. How he doesn't have enough time and of course money to get things going. How he is suffering from all this pressure.
I agree. Mithunam does a decent job of making me understand how much Setu has on his plate and on his mind. How he tries to cope with his high maintenance life where everybody wants something from him. And that's probably a fairly accurate depiction of an urban Malayali Keralite man who has to care for his whole family.
Could be, yes. But honestly, I was wondering a little bit if he really should follow his dream about his own factory. For example, there's this one moment later on where he tells the authorities that the waste will just go to the nearby lake. And I thought, that's probably not the best idea. I of course get the point of the movie or filmmakers, and there's this little speech later on that it's way more difficult in Kerala because of bureaucracy and stuff. But to some degree I also thought that it's maybe not the worst idea to have everything thought through and made safe and so on.
I guess so, but they were probably trying to tell you how much chicanery and harassment it is to get a business going if you are not that well heeled.
Absolutely, yes. And as strange as it sounds, but all this high maintenance stuff that goes on in Setu's life also creates some really fun moments, like the kidnapping of Sulu, or even more so the surprise that her brother more or less planned it this way. That was a really fun surprise. Or Nedo Mudivinu's cameo, or the honeymoon in Uti with the whole family.
Yeah, we're deep in road trip movie territory at that point, and it's fun how Setu and Sulu can't be alone for just 1 minute. And Mohanlal gives a really good performance here, and he's once again a slightly different character than the ones I've seen him play before.
While I enjoyed the light-hearted, chill and loose storytelling, it unfortunately wasn't really something I could connect to all that much. Like I said, to some degree I could relate to Setu, but I also think there are a lot of cultural things that stand in the way. And this whole joint family business was just a little bit exhausting after a while and not that super interesting.
It definitely gets repetitive after a while. Of course, it emphasizes the madness all around Setu, but that's something that we understood rather quickly, so it doesn't help to pile similar scenes on top of each other.
My biggest gripe with the movie, which in the end kind of killed the enjoyment for me, is that the relationship between Setu and Sulu should have really been explored more. But as it is, it's just that Sulu has to suffer from his negligence throughout, and in the end, it's apparently all her fault that she can't understand how he, as the man of the house, has all this pressure.
It was pretty baffling, to be honest, because I couldn't understand Setu's notions at all. I could understand that he's under a lot of pressure, but I couldn't understand how Sulu's at fault here, and it's terrible that this movie wants to tell me otherwise.
They try to paint her as this dreamy young woman who can't face the harsh realities, but I didn't see it that way. For one, the movie is this mostly light-hearted comedy drama, so this playful tone doesn't match all that well with this dramatic indictment of her character. And second, Setu is really behaving pretty badly. Not only does he lie to her, doesn't recognize her wishes and needs at all, but he also just doesn't really speak about his problems and feelings with her.
They should remake this movie as a revenge story, where Sulu kills the whole family but saves Setu for last.
Okay, now the fan base is lost.
Sorry.
But I guess I know where you're coming from. Towards the end, Setu becomes really unlikable, and that whole ending didn't sit well with me. For me, it wasn't this fun and emotional twist, but actually really cruel.
Setu's acting like a twisted villain who manipulates Sulu, and she of course has to bow down because what choice does she really have? Setu's like pure evil, but then again, why am I so surprised? He threatened to burn a bunch of officials and himself alive after all, which comes kind of out of nowhere.
Mithunam definitely has some issues with finding its focus and tone. It's a little bit all over the place, which also shows when you think about Mohanlal and Sreenivasan. It's always nice to see them together, but the dynamic, or rather their relationship, could have been fleshed out more, and that would have benefited the emotional side of the movie.
It's really fun when Preman helps Setu to kidnap his future bride, or when he has that conversation with Setu's father that I mentioned earlier, but later on he becomes immaterial.
Primam's storyline is introduced after the first third. He is in love with Setu's younger sister Asha. Honestly, I thought this part of the story was kind of strange and a little bit uncomfortable. She tells him several times that she's not interested. Then we get this awkward kiss, which watching it today is quite bad. And then a little bit later, she somehow changes her mind?
Yeah, I don't know, it feels odd. The whole movie feels odd. And that's really unfortunate because it's actually able to tell me a story in a way I haven't seen before.
It's definitely kind of interesting, but it also pretty much falls apart towards and especially at the end.
It does. So, what would we say in German about Mithunam?
Mithunam ist ein heißgeliebter Klassiker, der uns leider etwas kalt gelassen hat. Atmosphärisch und mit schönen Bildern in Szene gesetzt, fehlen dem Film aber der richtige Fokus und Ton. Und das Ende ist ehrlich gesagt eine ziemliche Katastrophe. I give Mithunam 5 out of 10. It's more like 5.3, but I don't do that.
For me, it's also 5 out of 10. It's more like 5.4, but I don't do that either. Did you know that actress Urvashi holds the record for winning the most Kerala State Film Awards for Best Actress?
Wow, didn't know that.
She won the award 5 times and holds the record since 2006.
Awesome. So, what are your thoughts about Mithunam? Leave a comment. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd and also on Patreon, simply at TheJimmyCage.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at the Buddymeister.
And if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like.
And make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell.